this Virtually Rick, we look at earthquake-proof buildings. So, come with me. Let's get virtual. In a major earthquake, most of the damage and loss of life is not caused by the quake, but by the buildings themselves. And when you look at, say, an ordinary high-rise over here, they're basically built to support a vertical load. And if you've ever played a game of Jenga and someone's accidentally bumped into the table, well, then you know what happens next. And buildings aren't basically built to withstand such lateral forces, so the walls buckle and the roof comes down on top. Come with me and we'll find out. We're going back in time as we leap up into the hills, 2017, above Montecito. And if you look beneath this tree, you'll see there's a beautiful array of shrub and bush that's just perfect for the tinder of a wildfire. And as it breaks out, it burns through the chaparral and it creates a huge layer of debris on the surface, as well as burning at an extraordinary high temperature. And what happens there is it changes the chemical makeup of the soil beneath the tree. When the rains came in January in Montecito, they came down thick and fast into this upper layer, and they supersaturated this upper layer here, so much so that the water filled it, and it had nowhere to go because of the hydrophobic layer below, stopping the water from going any further. The result was that when water mixes with soil, of course, it becomes mud, and more rain came, so the layers of mud became thinner and thinner, and because we're up in the hills and gravity takes its effect, this whole layer starts to move, and as it does, it becomes what scientists call a mud flow. It picks up pace and heads down the valley towards Montecito. It becomes a mudslide. There you have it. Mudslides or mud flow can be massively damaging, moving at high speeds across huge distances. How can we prevent disasters like this from happening? Well, it's really a balance of managing our forests while protecting our neighborhoods. And as we Californians know, our relationship with Mother Nature is never going to be easy. And from there, bigger and bigger aircraft can be called upon, right up to what you see here, the Boeing 747 Very Large Air Tanker, which is precisely what it is, able to deliver 24,000 gallons of retardant, the equivalent of dumping a small swimming pool onto a fire whilst flying in low as if on approach for a landing at around 400 feet. Taking on a wildfire is a job for only the bravest and most brilliant. And it's clear to see that with these incredible machines at their disposal, CAL FIRE is ready to do battle with even the wildest of fires. Option 2, remove it completely and return the seabed to its former glory, which is a bit of a cost to the big oil companies. The current estimate for completely decommissioning and removing all of the rigs off the coast of California is around $8 billion. Cutting the rig below the waterline and then leaving it as a vertical structure in place, then placing the top part next to it on the ocean floor. Now, it's tricky because it involves divers using cutters, which of course is dangerous. Or number 2, which is tip the whole thing over and leave it on its side underwater. Or 3, sever its moorings from the seafloor and then tow it to a place that's more environmentally friendly. These last 2 methods mean using explosives to sever the jacket legs above or below the floor of the ocean, which means the destruction of the sea life community that's living there. So perhaps that's not the best option. Now, the petroleum companies favour the Rigs to Reef initiative, fuel for electricity generation, heat and biofuel for cars too. Biomass is a thing. It's happening all across the world. So whilst we wait for more of this most intimate of papers to fly back onto our shelves, in this Virtually Rick, we're on a roll. Thank you. The story so far. We use a lot of the stuff, around 400 rolls per home per year in the US alone. That's the same amount of paper as if we brought home 50 books. How many trees is that? Well, enough to make you want to turn over a new leaf, or at least use one. But actually, the ancient Romans didn't. They used a sponge on a stick soaked in vinegar called a tersorium to use it on their posterium, or whatever they called it. But if you really don't want to be a pain in the behind, perhaps the smartest people are the Japanese and the French, whose bottom washing and bidet bathroom brilliance is probably the best way to save the forests of the future from meeting a very sticky end.